Christmas. But at that time, he felt that we were not united enough or organized enough to do it. But we feel that the time is ripe, that the universal cry for justice demands that we redistribute the pain, and we call for economic boycott. So we want this to be the last time we march on Washington. From now on, we want Macy's to march on Washington. We want Foot Locker to march on Washington. We want Macy's and all these other department stores to march on Washington and say, look, y'all gonna have to give these black folk, Negroes, whatever you want to call us, give them what they want, because they are holding their money from us, and we want you to give them justice.
So now you want to go ahead and take the fight now from the streets into the corporate suites.
That is correct.
So you want to go ahead at that particular point is make sure that black dollars got to make sense.
Yes, sir.
So
yes,
when you have black dollars making sense, then you can make a real change.
Exactly. I was reading a quote from the Honorable Marcus Garvey where he said, as a people, we go to sleep with the gimmies and we wake up with the wants, which means we're beggars. We beg for the things that we need, and we go out and buy the things that we want. We have to switch that around. We're the only people that blame white people for 95% of our problems and spend 98% of our money with them, okay? When Martin Luther King was alive and he called for an economic boycott, back then we were making $30 billion a year. Today, we are making over $1.3 trillion a year coming through our pockets. But where is that money going? That money is not staying in our communities. That money is going outside of our communities, and our communities remain desolate. They remain poor because, as you said, dear brother, money talks, but we haven't been listening. We have power. Collectively, if we pull our resources together and we collectively do that, we can get people to listen to us.
So you say $1.8 trillion?
Yes, a year, coming through our hands.
I think that constitutes what they said, number 7 or 8 in the world as far as economies go. Yes. And we go walking around all the time talking about we ain't got no money.
Right.
I'm saying we ain't got no money. I just want to make sure that people listen and understand, because if I use that SMU talk, somebody won't even understand it. So I just want to make sure people South Dallas can understand it, people Stop 6, Como can understand it. We ain't got no money. So when we ain't got no money and we spend our money elsewhere, and we're demanding justice or else, there's talk from other people in the community about the economic portion of it. They're also talking about the justice portion as well, about the mass incarceration.
Yes.
Now, it's been, Dr. Freddie Haynes had said last week when he was here, he had made mention of the fact that the reason why we have a lot of people in jail is because, simply put, it's based on economics.
Yes.
So I wanted to tie that in with that. Could you expound on that, please?
Well, first of all, we got to stop saying that, or quit letting people say that as a people that we are lazy. We're not lazy. We suffer most of all from unemployment opportunities. And when we can't find jobs, we find hustles, okay? The young brother on the street who sells drugs, if you talk to them, you will find that that's not something that they really want to do. It's something that they see as the only viable way to make some money. And so today, the prison industrial complex is filled with nonviolent offenders. Most of them deal in drugs, okay? And this is one of the reasons that a lot of people don't want to legalize marijuana, but alcohol, more people die from alcohol than marijuana, and they don't want to legalize the marijuana. Now, I'm not promoting the use of marijuana. I'm just saying they don't want to legalize it, because to legalize it, then you're gonna lose a lot of nonviolent offenders who wind up in prison for the sale of marijuana and other drugs. And so when our young brothers can't find a job, then they wind up in prison, okay? And when they wind up in prison, they're given a court-appointed lawyer, okay? Because they can't afford a good lawyer. And they wind up taking a plea bargain, and they wind up staying in there and having this criminal record on their sheet. because they didn't have that economic base. And it is us, I have to say, the previous generation, we have failed in not giving our young babies an alternative, because we took our eyes off the prize and we started chasing a dollar and spending our dollars with other people in other communities and not building businesses that we can pass on to our children. And so now you find them in the streets hustling, trying to make a living, because we thought that we could pass on a job, and we can't pass on a job. We can't do that. We can pass on wealth that we accumulated. We can pass on businesses that we start. And so now, because you have this economic gap, and the young brother has to get into illegal means, he winds up in prison. And so what we have to start doing is pooling our resources and building businesses and creating jobs to give our young people something to do. It's one thing to tell them to stop using drugs, but then what's the alternative? What's the alternative? And so,
if you don't have a job, well, let me break it down. The area of town in which I grew up in, Oak Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone talked about when I was going to school in the 1980s. I graduated in 1980, and the 70s. Everyone talked about going either to college, or if they was going to get a job, they was going to get a job in North Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Way out. There were no jobs in Oak Cliff to have.
Right.
Now, right now, there are no jobs in Oak Cliff to have now.
Right.
So now they started opening up these plants, if you will, these warehouses on Interstate 20. They got a whole bunch of warehouses on Interstate 20 right now. And they're opening it up. Amazon got one down on 20 and 45.
Mm-hmm.
So in that 10-mile radius, so there are thousands of black folk they could go get jobs there, but they can't get a job because they got a case against them.
Mm-hmm.
A simple case. It could be a simple case of you had a bag of weed in your car and you got stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go. Not only do you have a case, now you got a record.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't get a job at AT&T, or you can't get a job at these these big corporations and everything. And then you have this other part of mass incarceration. You have all these people going to jail. Your voting rights are taken away. You're stripping away from you. You have to petition to get these back. And you have what is called a prison industrial complex.
Right.
The prison industrial complex is set up to have people incarcerated. And it's also set up to have a cheap labor pool. Mm-hmm. If you can use a cheap labor pool, and if these people decide to use it, it's like colonialism.
And this, my brother, is why we're going back to Washington, and we are demanding justice. Frederick Douglass said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." And Minister Farrakhan added to that even if you make the demand and it's not backed by power, you still will not get what you set out to get. So our injustice starts really from the cradle. In elementary school, we call it the prison to pipeline. You know, it's an injustice to miseducate us. It's an injustice to hoard us into the prison. It's an injustice that if we don't have a job and we just hanging out on the corner, we get shot down. Okay? People erroneously thought that when we got the first black president in office, that some kind of way we were living in a post-racial society. Well, just because a black man was selected and elected to occupy the highest office in the land, that doesn't necessarily mean that America now loves the brother with the blue collar, the white collar, the no collar, or the no shirt. Okay? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that no one man can rise above the condition of his people. And Barack Obama is learning the hard way, because when he got on Twitter, he got his Twitter account, and they start calling him all kind of N-words. He realized that even though I'm in the highest office of the land, I'm still a black man in America. Okay? So we are sick and we are tired of this mass incarceration. Either our young men are in jail or they're being shot down in the street, and we have to demand that the government of the United States intercedes in our affairs to stop the unjust killing. And if someone is brought to the court of law, that they receive justice for the crime that they committed against taking innocent life. There's a scripture in the Bible where the Pharaoh saw the children of Israel multiplying too fast. And he said to his staff in his day, we have to deal wisely with them. Let's kill off all the males and let's spare the females. Now, if you think that that's written in there for entertainment, like you would read a novel or something, we are terribly mistaken. History has a funny way of repeating itself, and everything that we read in those scriptures are being fulfilled today. We were multiplying, and somebody had to figure out a way to curb our population and deal wisely with us. When you use the words deal wisely, you're asking your staff to enter into a conspiracy. And it is no accident that we are dying at such a fast rate. And I must say this, while it's on my mind, since around 1978, we've killed over 200,000 of us have died at the hands of other black people. So when we go back to Washington, we're going back to ask for justice demand justice from the government, but we want to stop the killing. This war is on two fronts. There's something that we got to do in our community, and there's something that we got to demand from the government. We have to stop the killing among ourselves, and when we do that and we come together and we unite, then we can speak with one voice and we can stop people from outside of our community coming in and killing us.
Absolutely right. That's what I talked about before on my piece on the Inside Texas Politics that you had already seen previously. Hey, but before we go ahead in the second segment of our show, we need to make sure that everyone is tuning in and being able to listen to us. You can be able to catch the MP3 player of this interview later, and also the CDs will be for sale as well. So we need to make sure everyone gets on the bus, man. Yeah. Strip, we got to get them on the bus. And while Strip is getting the bus, there we go. Let's get down there.